Good morning, everyone,
Good morning.
and Merry Christmas. I'm sure to most of us this is a very joyful day, but I'm concerned that the real reason for this day being joyful has been hijacked by the world's commercialization of this season. The focus is on Santa Claus and not on Jesus Christ. The focus is no longer on the gift of divine life that has come down, but on earthly gifts we've received. Every Sunday we say we believe He came for us and for our salvation. He was born of the Virgin Mary and became man. And for the last few weeks we've been preparing to celebrate the birth of Christ, and today we celebrate His birthday. But why was Jesus born? Why did He come into this world? If it was for our salvation, we needed to be saved. From what? From sin. Let's be honest, few religious words are less in vogue today than the word sin. We live in a world full of advertisers telling us we need to buy this to raise us above our current low view of our self-worth. So we don't need religion to tell us there is something the matter with us. So we seek refuge in a different refrain epitomized by Bruno Mars when he sings, "You're amazing just the way you are," to assure us that there is nothing wrong with us. Thus, we are caught between the extremes of the advertising world that seeks to dismantle our egos and the pop world that asserts our amazingness. Thus, it is no wonder sin doesn't get much airtime. Obviously, in our faith, sin is an important word. The trick is remembering how to start saying it again. In the midst of all the loud and confused noise, sin can actually be good news. Here's why. We all want to be validated, to feel worthy of being loved, to experience wholeness. So when we're told that we're perfect and amazing just the way we are, it's just like a hit of dopamine for the soul. But like any high, the feeling doesn't last. Deep down, we feel the lack of harmony between the self-esteem anthem and our daily experiences of sleeping past a well-intentioned wake-up alarm, or taking our spouses or children for granted, or losing our patience with a coworker or a friend. We can wonder, maybe something really is wrong with me after all. Why can't I manage to keep myself together? Each one of us is a sinner. Each one of us has his own personal guilt for which he is personally responsible. Each of us has personal sins, but each of us is also implicated in original sin. By the very fact that we have an inclination to sin. Note, nobody has to teach us how to sin. Nobody sits down with us or with this little kid and says, "Now, Johnny, let's learn how to lie through your teeth. Remember, when you lie, look like you believe it." Another fact is that as children, we tend to be selfish without being told, "You should think of yourself first." We can be reminded of those famous words while growing up with siblings. It is not fair when Junior gets a greater slice of the pie. But if we are the ones with a greater slice of the pie, who among us remember even thinking of giving up the slice for our brother or sister? We all seem to have mastered these acts without the benefit of being taught. And that, in a sense, is original sin. Our inclination to do evil. We start small, Remember, even marathon runners first started by falling on their rear as toddlers. So you've got to start somewhere. The important points are two. First, God did not create man with an inbuilt inclination to do evil. So the fact that human nature is warped, inclined to do wrong, is not what God intended. Second, without God's special grace, man is incapable of avoiding all sin, including venial sins. Original sin is the wound we all share because we all share human nature. And that nature is damaged. Our intellects are darkened. We let ourselves believe good is evil and evil good. Our wills are weakened. Doing good is often hard. Doing bad, really easy. And we seem to have some faculty or facility at it, from baby steps. Stealing a pencil to full-grown ones stealing people's investments. You don't need to be a genius to see that human beings are quite good at being bad. And when you stop to think about it, if you believe in a good God, then you have to conclude that He didn't want it that way, and that there is something about Adam and Eve and their descendants that's not quite right. So the human Humpty Dumpty fell, and neither he nor all the king's men can put him together. Man broke the masterpiece God made. Man should fix it, but he can't. If you look at history, you will find each one of the great men in the Bible had their shortcomings or flaws, and therefore could not be the one God could use to fix human nature, for they themselves needed fixing and in need of a Savior. We can look back at Abraham. Abraham is universally known for his faithfulness. He is called the father of all of them that believe and the friend of God. All Christians are Abraham's seed. But twice it was recorded that Abraham resorted to deception when he feared for his life. He listened to Sarah to have relations with his concubine or handmaiden Hagar, because he doubted that Sarah herself would conceive because of her old age. And yes, like we are, Abraham was subject to sin. Noah was a drunk. Elijah was another great name in the Bible, but he had low self-esteem and wanted to die. He wanted to sleep and had to be encouraged to get up and nourish himself. Elijah was a prophet, a biblical hero and a person of faith, was seriously depressed that he prayed for death. We can't forget about David because we know his story. He was an adulterer and a murderer when he sent Uriah, the husband of Bathsheba, to the front lines so that he could be killed in battle, so that David's sin would not be exposed. As you can see, man could not fix human nature because any man will have a need of a Savior. But God can. But He's the one injured by our sin, not the one who's injuring. And it's the injured one who deserves restitution. Hence, we have Christmas. We celebrate that out of the many ways God could save us, He chose to restore man by becoming man Himself and lifting our human nature so that our flesh or our human nature can be participants in the divine life. Please note that this is a radical step that God took, such that our Jewish brothers and sisters, as well as our Muslim brothers and sisters, could not believe that God would come down and lower Himself and become man. Imagine what it would be like if you were to become an ant to save the ants from their savage ways. What God did by sending His Son to become one of us is even far greater than that. So by God taking on flesh, He retains His nature as God, and then He speaks through and acts through the humanity of Jesus. What is achieved also is a marriage between the human nature and the divine, and therefore He is able to lift up and transfigure and divinize our flesh. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, let us be joyful for the right reason for this feast of the Incarnation. It is indeed a truly remarkable and radical event. God humbled Himself to take on human flesh. God became a baby. And this is why we celebrate Christmas. Because aware that man can't fix himself, and yet still in love with His image and likeness, Jesus, the second Adam, came to repair what the first Adam broke. This is the true meaning of Christmas. So let us rejoice. Then God further humbles Himself by transforming bread and wine into His very own body and blood, and feeding us with the Eucharist. And now we are about to welcome Him into our hearts when we receive Holy Communion, which is Jesus Himself, fully divine, fully human. An even greater reason for us to rejoice. So let us rejoice as He continually fills us with the gift of His life.